Hey mama, welcome to the One Income Family Podcast where we talk all things budgeting on one income. Today, we are going to be jumping into what can feel like a losing battle, and that is getting a grip on your spending. Now, don't take this to believe that the reason you're off budget is because of your spending and that it's a bad thing to have spending money. On the contrary, I want you to enjoy your life, and having a little spending money is not going to hurt you or your budget. In fact, it gives you the freedom to spend that money without worrying if you're going to dip into other more important funds. But if you're not careful, that little bit of freedom can start burning a hole in your pocket, and you find yourself giving in to the desire even when you've spent all of your money budgeted for that free spending. And that is what we are going to be talking about today. How to curb that urge so that your spending money isn't the thing keeping you from reaching your goals. So go grab your favorite drink and head outside as we head into today's episode. Do you find it hard to save or get out of debt? Are you constantly searching for ways to save money and live on a budget? Do you have big dreams only to be stopped by not sticking to your budget? Are you ready for financial freedom? Then you, mama, are in the right place. Welcome to the One Income Family Podcast, where you will learn what it looks like to budget on one income, how to partner with God in your finances, how to budget in a way that's easy to stick to, and how to cut costs and save money, all so that you can start building wealth. It is my mission to equip you with these tools so that you can live in abundance regardless of the amount in your account. Hey, I'm Molly, a budget coach for stay-at-home moms, and I know what it's like to struggle on one income. I've lived paycheck to paycheck, relied on being frugal, and failed many budgets until I learned how to budget without tracking. This has allowed my family to pay off debt and build wealth all on one income. So, if you are ready for financial freedom, then go grab that stroller, plug in those headphones, and let's get to it. Hey mama, thank you so much for tuning in with me each and every week. It lights me up to know that you are enjoying the show. But I don't actually know if you're enjoying the show if you don't leave me a review. So, before we jump into today's episode, I just want to ask you if you could please leave a quick written review for the podcast. Share with me how the podcast is impacting you and what you enjoy about it. It keeps me excited knowing that you're enjoying the show, which is what helps me to bring you new and fresh content each and every week. And I love knowing that I'm helping you master your finances so that you can have a better life and a joyful family. All you have to do is scroll down to the bottom of the show and click Write a Review. It's in purple and you can't miss it. Rate it, write your review, and hit submit. So, hit pause right now, take 30 seconds, and leave that wonderful review that not only lifts me up, but helps to get the podcast out to other mamas in need. I look forward to reading your review. Spending money. What can I say about spending money? Well, I can start with the fact that it is an extremely touchy subject with most people because this is kind of, in a sense, what we strive for, right? We strive for that ability to be able to spend our money as we please, how we please, whenever we please. But if you think about it, that's exactly what a budget is. It just keeps you contained, right? And when we think about spending money, it's not contained. It's the ability to give into that selfish desire in the moment. And that is where things can go south real fast. So I wonder, have you ever sat down and taken a look at where your money is actually going? It's one thing to have a budget and an idea as to where you want your money to go. And then you sit down and you think you're following it as you go throughout spending through that pay cycle, right? But have you ever sat down to see if you actually are following your budget and where or how you're getting off budget? My guess is no. And I don't mean that in a bad way, because that was me. I did not do that. I don't like doing that precisely because, it takes a lot of time to figure out where your money's actually going and how you're actually spending it. But if you are honest with yourself, are you actually doing what the budget says? Or are you filling out this budget that just is like this simple guide, something that you want to try to stick to, but it's not something that is actually like in concrete, hard, like stuck that you actually follow it? Or is it just something that you're like, it's a nice to have, it's there. I go throughout my pay cycle, I say, okay, I've got this much money, but I don't actually follow that. So then things tend to get a little rough and it doesn't go as planned, right? Well, that's because your budget isn't set up to where you're actually going to follow it, right? Let me sum this up for you. You will be shocked at how much money you are actually spending freely. And I put that in air quotes because freely simply means that it's not categorized. You already have financial freedom. And what I mean by that is you get to choose where the money goes. Yeah, sometimes there are things that are tied up, like things that you have to have in order to live, which is like your food, but you get to choose what food you want to eat, right? Your housing, but again, you get to choose the house that you live in. Your car, but again, you get to choose that. I'm going to say the only thing you probably don't get to choose in your bills is some of your utilities, like electricity. There's only one choice, right? Unless you're going to try to figure out a solar panel way. But then again, it's still your choice if you're not choosing to use the electricity, right? So that is my point. Everything in your budget is your choice. You get to make the categories. You get to choose what house you want to live in, what car you want to drive, where you want to spend your money is your choice. So before you get off on a tangent saying that I don't get to choose where I want to go and I don't have this financial freedom, I want to remind you that you do, and it's a matter of choices and how you choose to spend that money that's going to make you feel restricted. And that's kind of what today is all about, is essentially that feeling of restriction and whether your spending money, I'm putting that in air quotes, is actually keeping you from reaching your goals. So let's dive into what I have for you today. The first thing that you need to do is find out how much money is actually free, uncategorized money. Acknowledging this free money is going to help you start planning for it and making decisions around whether it's something you need or whether it's something that you can live without, right? You need to see if it's something that needs to be put into the budget. If it's something that needs to be added into the budget because you are constantly doing it and it's a reoccurring thing and it's for the family rather than your own personal desires in the moment, place it into a new or maybe a pre-existing category so that you can start saving for it or at least expecting it to be in your monthly expenses. That is the first thing you need to do. You need to sit down and figure out how much of this money that you are spending is actually following the budget and how much of it you're just willy-nilly spending it in the moment kind of thing, right? Because that is going to tell you whether your money and your spending habits are what's keeping you from reaching your goals or whether it's just simply something else, right? Whether it's just could be a fact that maybe you just need to put a pause on things, which we will get into that later on. But the spending money isn't always the reason why you're not reaching your goals. It's just a matter of whether your goals are the right thing for you in the moment. Goals are a big thing, but if it's not something you're actually actively reaching for, then it's not actually a goal, right? So again, another tangent for another day. But the second thing, though, that I need you to do is then take up whatever money is left over from your like your audit that you've done on your expenses over the past, I'm going to say 3 months, because that's going to give you the best idea. If you want to do more, have at it, go for it. It's up to you. But I suggest at least 3 months so that you can get a really good idea as to where your money is going, and you can find those reoccurring things, the things that you are doing all the time, so that you can plan it in your budget and not just put it in your spending money, right? So then the second thing I need you to do is add up how much you are currently spending that doesn't belong in a category. And then, and this is the hard part, ask yourself these questions. This is going to be the most impactful part of this episode, so I suggest you grab a pen and paper so that you can write these questions down, and you can take them to your husband, you can mull them over together, and you can really come up with a plan and a thought process as to how you're going to handle spending money, because that in itself can be a make it or break it on your financial goals if it's not a financial goal. So having that spending money could be a financial goal, right? That could be something that you want. So don't think that just because we're like diving into spending money and we're going to be asking all these questions, that it's something that you have to take away because, this expert said that if I want to be able to reach my goals, then I can't have any spending money and now my life just stinks. No, I don't want that for you. I want you to have the spending money, but I also want you to be smart about it, right? So go grab that pen and paper so you can write these questions down, because I'm sure you're not going to be able to come up with the answers right here as we're going through it. So the first question that I want you to ask yourself is, how much free money do you actually want? What are the things that you do that require you to have this free spending money in the moment? Is it your coffees? Is it maybe that you like to, go and watch a movie every now and again for some self-care? Is it your desire to have some sort of hobby that doesn't go into your family stuff, so you pay for it in your own spending money? Or is it just to have it there so that you can save up for something that you may all of a sudden out of nowhere be like, ooh, I really want that. And then you have the money for it, right? There are so many different variables here in so many different ways, but you need to know how much feels good to you. So then my next question is, why do you want that amount? All free money is unplanned money for your splurges, right? For your in-the-moment purchases. But it could also be, like I said, for your hobbies, which is another planned thing, but it's not always going to be in your budget because it's going to be for you, right? And maybe your hobbies change and they're never constant. So knowing how much it's going to cost is going to be different every single month, possibly. So that is what this free money is. You shouldn't be using it for planned expenses or unplanned expenses. What I mean here is you shouldn't be using it for going out to eat as a family, because then you're going to feel like, oh, my husband gets to spend his money however he wants, but I have to use mine for eating out with the family because otherwise I feel guilty. No, that's going to cause resentment. That's going to cause you to feel like unappreciated and the fact that you have to do that. No, there is your husband spending money. There's your family spending money, which that to me is money that you eat out on. It's family activities. It's date night. It's things that you do together that are in the moment things, not planned for. Like they're pre-planned, but you use it however you want when you want, right? That can be a little bit of a mind game. So I hope you get what I'm saying. But anyways, I want you to figure out why you want the amount of money that you are looking for. Like, why does your husband want that amount? Why do you want that amount? Why do you want that amount for your family? Like, what is constant that you have found? What is something that's happening all the time? And what is just something that makes you feel free, makes you feel unrestricted? Like, I also don't want you to get like so over the top and jump into like those selfish desires of I want all the money and I have to have it all right now. But it's okay to feel like you can have a little bit of money to spend on a splurge. There's nothing wrong with that. So you just need to figure out how much it is and what it's for. Like I said, is it for a hobby? Is it for coffee? Is it for food? Is it for books? Like, I don't want you to feel bad about it. I want you to see the impact that it makes. And I want you to make sure that it's something that brings joy to your life versus something you are just doing and have always done, or something that you see somebody else doing and so you feel like you have to do it. No, this is your budget. This is your life. This is what you get to choose. You get to decide. That is financial freedom. You getting to decide. So take that and figure out what you want to do with your money and why you want that amount. So then the next question I have for you is it a smart financial decision? So when you start with these 3 questions that I've just asked you, asking the first one, how much free money do you want? You could be as simple as going, well, let's just throw an easy number out there. Let's say like $20 a week. Okay, you want $20 a week for maybe going and buying clothes or buying that coffee or that food or your hobby, you know. There's so many things that it could be for. But if you take that amount, $20 a week, and you figure it for how much it would be a month, that's going to be $80 a month, right? Except for on those months where there's 5 weeks, which then comes out to $100 a month. So then if you would take that and figure out how much you're spending for an entire year on that free spending, it would end up being, you'd end up taking it times 52 because there's 52 weeks in the year. I've got to do some quick math. I think it's like 140 or 1,040 is what I meant to say. I think it's like $1,040 for an entire year of $20 a week, right? And you think about that. What could you be doing with that money? Is there something more important that money could go towards? Now, I'm not saying that you can't do that and it's not okay. But what I am showing you is the impact that much money makes. $1,040 can be like half, if not the full, if you want it to only be $1,000 of your emergency fund, right? You could get that saved quickly. Plus, if that's only you, double it for your husband getting $20 a week. That could be $2,080, right? So, and I don't want you to feel bad. I'm not saying this stuff so that you're like, oh my gosh, I am doing things wrong. I could be using that money for other more important things. No, that is not what I'm doing. I'm simply showing you what it could be, what is possible with how much you're spending. So maybe instead of figuring out how much you're willing to spend a week, if you want to lower the impact of $1,000, maybe just say, okay, I'm okay with doing like $600 a year. What would that divide up into monthly, right? Or $800 a year. That is what you got to figure out is, are you okay with that much money going towards unplanned things, towards free stuff? And if you are, then all the power to you. Then I'm going to tell you right then and there, it is not affecting your goals because that is a financial goal, right? But I just want you to think about it and I want you to really make a decision as to whether that is smart for you or whether that is something that you could hold back on. And it doesn't have to be all the time, right? Your financial goals can impact how that happens. For instance, if you want to do like a spending freeze for a month, and it could be a month with 5 weeks in it, you could save yourself $100 and it could go towards something else that you are trying to reach, right? Now, I don't want you to freak out and I don't want you to say, oh my gosh, I'm doing things wrong, or be totally against me because I'm telling you you're spending your money wrong, because that's not the case. I do not want you to think that. I just want you to think about whether it is a good, smart financial decision for you and your family. Like, is that something that your budget can handle? Can your budget handle $20 a week or 30 or 40 or 100, whatever your budget is capable of? But I know here on One Income, $100 a week probably isn't going to happen. So we have to rein in that desire, right? And be okay with something a little bit less. And so that is what I want you to think about. I just really want you to think about this. That's all that I'm doing, is bringing this to the forefront of your brain so that you have all the information and you can make a smart financial decision for yourself. Okay, so then the next question I want you to think about is, what is God telling you to do? Because I could be bringing all of this stuff up and you could be hearing it and you could be feeling like I'm condemning you, but in all reality, maybe God is convicting you. Maybe he is saying right now is not a good time for you to have however much money you want, but he's not saying you can't have any at all. It's just maybe a lesser amount. For instance, my husband and I, we each only get $50 a month. So that comes down to like $12.50, something like that a week. We do a biweekly cycle, so it's easy. It's $25 each pay cycle, right? So that gives us an idea as to how much money we are able to spend, and then we are able to give the rest over to God and let him take the rest of our so-called spending money and put it in places of need so we can further his kingdom, right? Is that something that God is telling you to do? If you already have that, don't worry about it. If he's already told you that you need to give 10% and you already have your 10% put away and you give it away at the beginning of the cycle, and then at the end, like this is the money you have left over and you're trying to decide if you should put it towards a financial goal or whether you should do some spending money, then you are already at a place where you are at peace with you and God and you have a decision made. But I do want to make sure that you are counseling with him, that you are taking this to him and you are seeing what he thinks and you are coming up with decisions together instead of trying to figure it out yourself. Because when you try to figure it out yourself, it's hard, it's difficult, and things don't go as planned. But when you do it with God, things go smoothly, right? I know you know that feeling because it feels real good when you're like, oh yes, God told me to do that. And it just went as planned and it was easy, right? So definitely counsel with him. Take him your thoughts, take him your desires, take him your dreams and your goals as you should be throughout this entire process so that you know that you are on the right path. The next thing that I want to look at is whether you are looking at this at a point of what I talked about earlier, which is of financial freedom. To be able to buy and spend your money whenever, however you please. And our goal for financial freedom is to be able to do that with pretty much all of our money. But like I've already said, your budget is that. Every aspect of your budget is essentially you choosing which thing that you want. Now, you could go and live in a camper on a plot of land and it would be even cheaper than having a house, right? But you'd have to be okay with living in very small confined quarters. Not something I want to do. But that is something that you could do. You could live in a tent if you wanted even less expenses. Like, there are things that you get to choose. You get to choose how big of a house, how small of a house, how expensive of a property that you get, where you live, where you decide to actually set down roots and like build a house or buy a house. Like, there are so many different options. So when you're talking about freedom, is it the selfish desires that the devil is trying to put in us to be able to do with our money, to buy whatever we want, to go in the store, to not have a plan, to be able to just grab it off the shelf and go out the door with it? Because if that's the case, that is not the way God wants us to manage our money. He wants us to be smart with our financial decisions. And so financial freedom isn't about being able to spend whatever we want whenever we want and give into those selfish desires. It's about being able to make good, solid choices that are going to move you and your family forward and keep you out of that selfish desire that really keeps you stuck in like poverty. And that's not what we want for you. That's not what God wants for you. That's not what I want for you. So if this is the kind of freedom that you are looking for, I want you to know that no matter how much money you get, even if you're a millionaire, there will never be enough money to reach that kind of freedom. So definitely take this feeling to God so that you two can talk it over and you can really analyze where this feeling's coming from, why it's coming, like what it's stemming from, and you can nip it in the butt so that you can actually achieve financial freedom and financial peace, but God's way instead of the world's way. Okay, so to sum up what I talked about, to find out if your spending money is keeping you from reaching your goals is all a matter of opinion and about your budget and what's important to you and your family. That's why I came up with all these questions, for you to sit down and really look deep into why it is that you want that spending money and how much spending money, and whether it's something that's going to positively or negatively impact your family, right? That is what you need to find out. And then you need to look at your financial goals. Is that spending money a financial goal? Is that something that you actually want to have? If it is, then by all means, keep it. Don't get rid of it. But I do want you to know that there are ways that you can be like, okay, I have a larger goal that needs me to be okay to put my spending on pause so that I can reach it. One of those big major things that if you don't have, I want it to be your emergency fund. Put everything that you can on pause so that you can get that emergency fund set up quickly so you are not relying on credit cards. That is going to be a big game changer in your world. So just because you have that spending money is not a factor as to why you're not reaching your goals, but it can be a factor to help you achieve those financial goals faster. So you need to just sit down and figure out what is the priority. Man, I feel like I'm on repeat with the word priority. What is more important? Is it that in the moment spending? Is that going to give you the not feeling of restriction? And are you okay with slowly getting up to your emergency fund goals, or maybe some maintenance goals, or like your debt goals? What are you okay with? What do you want to do? That's what this is all about. This budget is yours. It's not mine. I can give you all the advice in the world. I can say, hey, do it this way. But if I tell you to do it a way that you don't enjoy doing it, you're not going to do it. You will not follow that budget because you do not like it. So I want you to set up a budget that feels good, something that you feel like happy and joyful about, something that you can stick to because you know that you're able to do the things that bring you joy and not make you feel restricted. Or maybe 1 or 2 months a year, you're like, I'm going to do a spending freeze, just do a little challenge, try to spend the least amount of possible so I can get some money saved up for something coming up, right? That is okay. You just have to be willing to sit down and think about it. And if something's coming up and something is more pressing, then take that into consideration and make that change for the month, for maybe 2 months or 3 months, whatever it takes, but it's your choice. It's your plan. So if this spending money is not keeping you from reaching your goals because you wanted that to be a goal, to be able to spend that money because you haven't ever been able to do that, then that's okay. That is okay. I want you to know that, right? It's not keeping you from reaching your goals. But on the flip side, if you do hit pause for a moment, you can reach those other big, more pressing goals a little bit faster. So you just have to figure out which one is more pressing, and maybe it's both during a moment. For like a year, you take a pause on some of those big spending things because you've been doing it for so long that it's stressing you out and it's weighing on you. So you need a little bit of free, fun money to go out and do some fun things. And then maybe you can put your head down and put pedal to the metal on those other goals for a little bit longer, right? Do what makes you feel right. Do what you and God can agree with. and what's going to further His kingdom and make your life better so that you can impact others' lives in a joyful, more happy way instead of stressed out by the way your money is making you feel. Okay, that was a lot, but I really just want you to understand that spending money is not something that's going to keep you from reaching your goals if it's something that has been a goal. Because for me, I never had spending money with my husband and I when we first became a one-income family. That was not a thing. We did not have the money for that. And so now that we have it, it's nice to have. It's nice to be able to have the freedom to not have to worry about going out to eat if we want to, or going and buying a book if that's something we desire, right? That is what is a goal for us right now. And there are other things that can wait a little bit, or we're okay with being in debt a little bit longer because of being able to have that ability to have that freedom, that spending money that keeps us from feeling restricted because we've been restricted for so long. Okay, so I pray that you understand how spending money actually works and how it can either help you or hurt your goal. And if it's something that is just, maybe it's a habit that you need to break, then bring it to the Facebook group. I'd love to help you break that habit if that's something that you are looking to break because you'd like to maybe go on a spending freeze for a month or so, or you have some other desire that you'd like to look into doing. So bring that to the free Facebook group. Otherwise, if you enjoyed this episode, would you please take a pause and go and write a written review on Apple Podcasts? Because that, again, is the only way I know if you're enjoying the show. And it lights me up to hear from you. It makes me excited when I hear that you are enjoying the show. It helps me to come up with more content so that I know that it's something you're going to enjoy versus me just trying to guess what you want to hear, right? So please take 30 seconds, go scroll down to the bottom of the show. In purple, click on write a review, I believe. I don't have it pulled up, so don't quote me on that. But it's in purple. It's easy to see. Click it, rate the show, write your impact or what you enjoy about the show, or maybe a question, and then hit submit so that I can see that and we can share the goodness together, not only with me, but also with other people, because those reviews help the show get out to other mamas who would be impacted by this show. Okay, so I pray you have a great rest of your week, and I will see you right back here next week on another episode of the One Income Family Podcast. Before you go, I hope this episode has ignited a fire inside of you, and I pray that it creates long-lasting impact. Did you know that you too can impact other one-income families? All you have to do is leave a written review, and you help get the podcast in the hands of other mamas in need. You can also text this episode to that friend who is also knee-deep in the same kind of chaos as you and inspire them to make a change. Also, your review lets me know that you're enjoying the show, and that lights me up. I get so excited to hear from you. Another great way that we can connect, though, is through the One Income Family community over on Facebook. So after you're done leaving that 5-star review, head on over to the community where you will find other mamas working their way out of the chaos. You can ask your questions and connect with others who truly understand what you are going through. I cannot wait to connect with you in the community. Until then, I will see you right here next week on another episode of the One Income Family Podcast.